All right? The fourth great truth is sovereignty, God's absolute dominion over all of creation. Anyone who looks at this universe with real attention will see it as a magnificent kingdom, constantly buzzing with activity. Or you could even see it as a city, one that's governed with incredible wisdom and ruled with immense power. When you take a broad, careful look at the whole of this universe, what do you see? You see a majestic and incredibly active kingdom. Majestic meaning vast, grand, glorious. And active meaning there isn't a single corner of it that's idle. There's tremendous activity happening everywhere. Now, why does the author use the analogy of a kingdom? Well, I think it's because when you look at human society, the grandest example of governance we have is a nation or a kingdom. A kingdom contains countless cities, towns, and villages. It's this huge, complex, multi-layered system. And when we look at the universe, we see the same thing. Hundreds of thousands of worlds, all interconnected, operating together like one vast kingdom. That's why the analogy fits so well. It captures the sheer scale, the complexity, and the intricate order of it all. So he sees the universe as a city governed with incredible wisdom and ruled with immense power. When we talk about sovereignty, what does that really mean? It means absolute control. It's the power to rule over something exactly as you wish, without any opposing force being able to stop you. It's about complete and unopposed authority. And the governance of this universal city is profoundly wise. Every part of it is managed with perfect wisdom. You find that everything, every single species, is busy carrying out its specific duty, completely submitted to a higher command. No matter where you look, at the sun, the moon, the air, the sea, the earth, the plants, the animals, bees, flowers, each one is engaged in its task as if it has been commanded. This brings to mind the verse, "To God belong the armies of the heavens and the earth." When you think of an army, you think of a chain of command, of perfect order and discipline. You think of divisions and battalions all moving as one under a single command. That's exactly what we see in the universe. The stars in the heavens are like one of God's armies. The atoms on earth are another. There are countless armies, all nested within each other. From the army of atoms, to the divisions of plants, to the battalions of animals, all the way up to the great army of the stars. Look at the atoms. There is a stunning order and discipline among them. Every single atom operates within a system of perfect order. Then you look at the plants. There are thousands of different kinds on earth, each one like a distinct division, and the animals like battalions. All of these are the Lord's soldiers, from the tiniest functionaries like atoms to the greatest soldiers like the stars. In all of them, you see majestic, creative commands, authoritative decrees, and magnificent laws at work. And it's just self-evident that all of this points to an absolute sovereignty, a universal commander-in-chief. Think about it the other way. If there wasn't a single power in charge of everything, from the tiniest atom to the most distant star, what would you have? Chaos. Everything would be a disorderly, jumbled mess, with each part going its own way. But instead, we see perfect order, which proves there's a single absolute power governing every last detail. So if this absolute sovereignty is a reality, then partnership, or shirk, simply can't exist. The two ideas are a total contradiction. Sovereignty means one ruler. Partnership means more than one. You can't have both. As the Quran says, if there had been in the heavens and the earth other gods besides God, they both would have been ruined. It's common sense, really. If you have multiple people trying to run a project despotically, each insisting on their own way, they'll just make a mess of it. You can't have two kings in one kingdom, or even two managers in one small district. It leads to chaos. Things get turned upside down and fall apart. But when we look at creation, from the delicate wing of a fly to the distant stars, those lamps of the heavens, and from the cells in our own bodies to the vast constellations, we see such breathtaking order that there isn't room for even an atom's worth of interference from a competing power. If there were any kind of partnership, you'd see corruption and disorder. The fact that we see perfect harmony without any sign of ruin proves there is only one creator. Furthermore, sovereignty is a position of ultimate honor and glory. Accepting a rival would shatter that honor. A ruler gives a command, and it has to be obeyed. If someone else can come along and cancel that command, what kind of ruler is he? His authority means nothing. His honor is gone. We even see this with humans. A man who is weak and needs help for everything will sometimes cruelly kill his own brother or son just to protect his tiny temporary piece of power. It shows you that at its core, sovereignty cannot tolerate a rival. So if a weak, needy human with a fraction of apparent authority will go to such lengths, how could we possibly imagine that the all-powerful absolute owner of the entire universe would ever allow a partner to share in his sacred, all-encompassing lordship and divinity? How could he permit partnership in his perfect holy sovereignty? It's completely impossible. This truth has been proven with powerful evidence in many places in the RİSALE-İ Nur, especially in the second ray, so we'll refer you to those for more detail. In his work, Ayat al-Kubra, the Master describes it as the final fruit of his 23 years of contemplative life. It's a truly magnificent and comprehensive lesson on faith and God's oneness. It deserves to be studied much more slowly and deeply than we are doing now. But for now, this will have to do. So, our traveler, having witnessed these four great truths, divinity, lordship, perfection, and now grandeur and sovereignty, came to know the oneness of God with the certainty of seeing it with his own eyes. His faith blazed, and with all his might he declared, "There is no God but God, the One, who has no partner." And as a brief sign of the lesson he learned at this stage, it is said in the second chapter of the first station, "There is no God but God, the unique, the One, to whose oneness and necessary existence is testified by the witnessing of the grandeur of the reality of the manifestation of absolute divinity, and likewise the witnessing of the grandeur of the all-encompassing nature of the reality of the appearance of absolute lordship, which necessitates unity, and likewise the witnessing of the grandeur of the all-encompassing nature of the reality of the perfections, which arise from unity, and likewise the witnessing of the grandeur of the all-encompassing nature of the reality of the absolute sovereignty, which prevents and negates partnership. Now this restless traveler, and I say restless because he's never content to stand still in his spiritual journey, he's always seeking new levels, new worlds, new truths, said to his own heart, the people of faith, especially those on the spiritual path, constantly repeat the words, "There is no God but God." The fact that they do this over and over, remembering and proclaiming his oneness, shows that understanding this oneness isn't a one-time event. It has many, many levels. It's like reading a profound book. You can read it your whole life, and each time you come back to it, you discover a new layer of meaning, a broader perspective. If you weren't getting something new out of it, you'd stop reading. The truths of faith are like that. They are like a bottomless ocean. With every repetition, God opens up a new curtain, a new meaning, and that joy, is what keeps you going. So the fact that they continue to repeat it means that new meanings are constantly being revealed. Indeed, affirming God's oneness is the most important, the most delightful, and the highest of sacred duties. It's a natural obligation and an act of worship rooted in faith. Once you understand that this universe has a maker, a master, an artisan, then the next step is to clear your mind of all partners and attribute everything, all of creation, all of time and space, to God alone, to see Him as the sole actor, present everywhere. This is crucial. It's also the most delightful truth, because when you realize one being is in charge of everything, everywhere, you understand you are always in His presence, which fills the soul with a sacred sweetness. It's a sacred duty that God has commanded for every person. It's a natural obligation and a worship of faith. So, he thinks, if it's so precious to understand God's oneness and to advance through its levels, then let's go. We must open the door to another station in this great exhibition hall of the universe to discover the next level, because the true oneness we are searching for isn't just a mental concept, something you can just memorize and repeat. It's not something you just try to imagine with your mind. It's much more than that. It is a deep conviction, an affirmation that comes from seeing the proof. It's a certainty that allows you to find your Lord in everything, to see a path leading to your Creator in every single thing you look at. With this kind of conviction, nothing can become a barrier between you and the presence of God. You see that even the causes and effects are His handiwork, so they too lead you back to Him. Otherwise, you'd constantly have to try and tear away the curtain of the universe to find God, which is impossible. So with renewed enthusiasm, he says, all right, let's press forward, and knocks on the next door, the door of grandeur and majesty. He enters the realm of divine acts and their effects, the world of creation and invention. And he sees that the entire universe is pervaded by 5 all-encompassing realities. These 5 realities rule over everything, and they prove the oneness of God with self-evident clarity. The first of these is the reality of grandeur and majesty. This truth is explained with proofs in many parts of the RİSALE-İ. But here we will just say this. Think of the stars, separated by distances that would take thousands of years to cross at the speed of light. They appear so close to us, but the distances are immense, yet they are all created and governed at the same instant, in the same manner. We know there are hundreds of billions of galaxies, and each galaxy contains hundreds of billions of stars. He creates all these stars in all these galaxies at once, not one after the other. He creates them all according to the same system of laws and manages all their activities simultaneously. God's rule over the entire expanse of the heavens is instantaneous. The heavens are the greatest mirror reflecting God's majesty. Then think of a single type of flower. Countless individual flowers of that same type are blooming at the very same moment, in the same way, all across the globe, in the east, the west, the north, and the south. Let's take a daisy. He creates daisies in the west, the exact same way he creates them in the east, or in the north and south. He fashions and gives form to countless members of the same species, all at once and in the same way. This shows a power, a knowledge, and a gaze that commands the entire face of the earth at a single moment. Or think about how he proves a past, unseen, and truly astonishing event. Like the verse that says, He created the heavens and the earth in 6 periods, by showing us something similar right before our eyes. We didn't witness that initial creation millions of years ago, but right now we can see a comparable event. Every spring, God creates an entire world. trees, grasses, flowers, fruits, vegetables, tomatoes, onions, everything, he creates a whole world of spring across the face of the earth. We see this. So we say, the one who creates this world of spring is surely the one who created the entire universe from nothing in the past. If he can do this, he certainly did that. And this yearly creation is also a preview of an astonishing future event, the Great Resurrection. Just as he resurrects the earth in the spring, he will resurrect all of humanity for the final gathering. The spring is like a preview, with hundreds of thousands of examples of resurrection. Think of the oranges and apples appearing on bare trees. Think of the new leaves. Just as he resurrects these, the melons, the watermelons, and so on, from nothing in the spring, so too will he resurrect everyone in an instant at the great gathering. In just 5 or 6 weeks, he brings into being more than 200,000 species of plants and tribes of animals, all the plants in the fields and gardens, all the insects, the lambs and calves. He constructs their bodies from scattered atoms with perfect order and balance. The order he gives to a sheep, a carrot, or a tomato is absolutely perfect. He does it without any confusion, defects, or mistakes, creating them all together, side by side in the garden of the earth, managing, nurturing, feeding, distinguishing, and adorning them all. These 3 events, the initial creation of the universe, the annual creation of spring, and the future great resurrection, all serve as proofs for one another. And the very same being who, as the verse says, causes the night to enter the day and the day to enter the night, the one who rotates the earth on its axis, who creates and turns the pages of day and night, writing the events of each day, is at that very same moment aware of the most secret, most particular thoughts passing through every heart. He knows our prayers, our hopes, our desires, and guides them with his will. He deals with us according to what is in our hearts, because each of these incredible acts, creating the spring, managing daily events on earth, is in reality a single, unified action happening within one creation. It's a logical necessity that the doer is also a single, unique, all-powerful being of glory. To grasp God's majesty and grandeur, the book Muhakamat says, you have to look at the totality of his works. The idea is too vast for the human mind to grasp on its own. You can only see it reflected in his creation. The sheer grandeur and majesty on display here is so overwhelming. This ability to do so many things at once, to rule the entire universe from atoms to stars, to see everything and control everything with his power, that it leaves no room, not even the slightest possibility or probability, for any kind of partnership. It cuts the very idea of shirk off at the root. So if such a grandeur and majesty of power exists, and if that grandeur is at the peak of perfection and is all-encompassing, then the idea of partnership, which would imply weakness or need in his power, a defect in his grandeur, an imperfection in his perfection, a limit to his all-encompassing reach, is absolutely inconceivable. A person needs a partner when they are weak or have a need. God has no such weakness or need. Any rational mind whose innate disposition hasn't been corrupted would reject such an idea. Of course, the mind can be corrupted. As long as it thinks clearly, it will understand this. But if its faculty of reason is broken, then things change. And so, because a shirk is an affront to God's grandeur, an insult to the honor of his glory, and an assault on his majesty, it is a crime so great that the Quran declares with a great warning that it is unforgivable, saying, "Indeed, God does not forgive that partners are associated with him, but he forgives what is less than that for whomever he wills."